Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another great episode video. My name is Alejandro Salomone, and it is an honor and a pleasure to be here as always. And it feels good to be back on the mic, to be able to be here. What a blessing to be able to share in this way, in this platform, with different people from around the world, wherever you are tuning in from. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the comments below. Would love to hear and connect with people who are watching. And also, of course, I would love to hear how this video resonated with you and what it brought up, or what is your perspective on this topic. And so, it's been interesting because every time I do these videos, it's always very intuitive. And sometimes like there'll just be a flow, right? Or it's just be like one after the other. I'm being guided to send out things, and then there'll just be a gap, or there'll be space. And what people don't know, that in these spaces, in these in between, there's so much that's happening, so many different experiences, so many different teachings, so much that is happening in my life. For me, typically like 1 month feels like, sometimes it can feel like 6 months to a year, and I'm not even joking. And it's not that it goes by slow, it's just that every day is so packed with so many profound teachings and experiences, and it'll just be like back to back, and then maybe like 4 days of a break. And during those 4 breaks or 4 days, I'll like integrate for those 4 days. Like everything kind of stops, and I'm able to go be in nature or just be in my own energy, and not be so engaged with other people, so I can integrate, so I can reflect, so I can receive downloads, so I can also put into application to apply changes into my life. And so this brings me to this conversation for today, which is around yes, cycles and changes, and the importance of how it connects to our journey, whether you want to call it a spiritual journey, whether you want to call it a journey of self-connection, whatever you want to call it, right? But it's necessary to address that we are all in some form of cycle. Every single one of us. The thing about that is it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. What I mean by this is that there are cycles that are for us, right? That they are positive aspects in our lives, and then there are cycles that are not, right? That they are outdated, meaning that they served us back in the day when that first behavior, or the ego learned that defense mechanism or survival mechanism or behavior, and it no longer serves us, right? And so that's what I mean, it's outdated, because the mind is it's performing, and it's functioning rather from old software. And this can prevent us, right, from being able to grow. This can prevent us from being able to call in the soulmate, the job, the things that we want to manifest, and also can prevent us from growing on a soul level, on a spiritual level, right? And so it is very important that we take time to reflect and address and get real with ourselves, and ask ourselves, like, what cycles am I running into? Am I entertaining in my life? What cycles are there that I'm aware of, and where are some cycles that maybe I'm not aware of? And so my intention today with this video is to help you, and to help you, guide you on how to become clear with your cycles, just with some exercises and most importantly, on how to work with your cycles. Because I have learned that there are steps to it. And at least for myself, that has been really helpful throughout all this time. And I would like to share that with you so that it can help you move forward with your life. So it can help you evolve and grow and release what is not serving you anymore. And so before we dive into this, I just want to share with you that it's to the point where I am today in my life. I just got done sharing with you all that, there's always been this it's kind of like a cycle, and it's a great example of a positive cycle that happens naturally, where I'll get like really intense, I'll get really busy, and then things just stop. It's not that I'm stopping it, it's just things just come to a halt, right? And it used to, when this would happen, it would make me feel a little bit like unsettled, because I would be like, oh, what happened? There was so much flow, there was so much momentum. Why did everything just stop? Like there's no reason for it. But then I quickly learned that this is like a spirit, God was teaching me about balance and also taking care of me, in the sense that because those moments of pause, it would remind me to go back in. Yes, I was always taking care of myself and learning new different ways to do that, and attending to my rituals and things that were important to me, of course, yes. And and there was also moments like that where they are necessary, especially in the line of work that I'm in, where it is a lot of energy. It is a lot of energy holding space for people, right? It is a lot of energy interacting with different realms, different energies, and I mean, this my journey has evolved, if you will, and has shifted and changed in so many different ways. So when those moments would come, I learned, okay, I need to sit with myself. And at the beginning, that was really uncomfortable. And I want to address this because I feel that this is quite common. And it's easier said than done to say, like, hey, make time for yourself, to sit, to reflect, and everything else like that. But if your nervous system is used to just go, and going, if you live a very active life, whether that's just you have a family to take care of, or you're just a very active individual because you have a very active social life, or just busy with your career, with your job, whatever it may be, or however that may look like, nowadays is pretty common for people to have a very stimulus life, right? And so the brain gets used to that, and that almost becomes a habit, and or it can be a loop, right? We can get stuck in these transic same sort of like behaviors and same things over and over again. So breaking away from that and taking time to ground, to not be in such a stimulus state, is essential. And I will say that again, that it feels pretty uncomfortable at first. At least it did for me, and it does for most people that I've been working with. I've noticed that for the most part, someone, there's a handful of people that, yeah, like the first time they were okay with, but then they would have a hard time keeping the consistency of that, because they would naturally want to go back to what they knew already, which is the stimulation of constantly being busy. So in some shape or form, there's always some form of challenge, or I feel like that's the best way to describe that. It's that the challenge comes and it looks differently for everybody, but it's always there because we're not used to it. However, as I continue to work with that, I knew I had enough awareness, right? Which just goes back to my awareness videos that I've done here before, which you should check them out if you want to hear more about awareness, and how crucial it is, right, in our lives. With that awareness, though, I would recognize and understand that this was something that I needed to lean into. And even the idea of feeling uncomfortable was good, because it was bringing the awareness of to me that I didn't feel comfortable with the sudden stop, and that maybe there were some fears there, maybe there were some things around its security, right? Of like, oh, did I do something wrong, or why did the flow stop? And it's like, have you ever seen a storm that just went on forever? No. Have you ever seen a place where it just always rains 24/7 all the time? There's not 1 second where it stops raining? No, it doesn't exist, because everything on our earth and everything in the universe, for that matter, has a stage, right? Has a process, and there's always a fluctuation of expression of energy. And so I mentioned this of our earth and the universe because it's the natural world. It's the world that exists, that was not created by us. And we are, however, we are part of it. And so I'm always asking myself and tuning into, how can I harmonize with what already is in harmony? That being the natural world on our planet and the universe. And that's how I go to seek that, to attune myself to that energy. So this was very much in that awareness. Even though I'm doing good things, and I'm helping people and all these things, it's aligned in consciously. It still is the importance of taking a pause, right? So from that space, once I accepted that uncomfortability and I dug into it a little bit deeper, I was then reflecting. We don't do a lot of reflecting that's constructive nowadays. And what I mean by this is, oftentimes people do think about the past, but it's not from a constructive perspective. It's not very we think about the past and we ruminate on the past, or we think about the past and we wish things were different, and we are or stuck in certain emotions that we haven't let go of. I'm not talking about that. That's not reflection. That is being stuck, right? Which is very different. Reflecting, it means, let me reflect on this month. At the end of the month, let me reflect on this week. At the end of the week, man, you don't even have to go that far. Let me reflect on today, if you don't want to go that far. Although I highly recommend reflecting at the end of each month at minimum. Just take a day to just be like, what happened this month? What did I learn? What are some things that I feel that are in my awareness that I would like to work with or change or evolve from, right? So these things are opportunities that can come up when we take the time to reflect. And so I started to do that. I started to reflect on the many, many, many things that happened. And I started to understand the importance of reflection. So the importance of dedicating time, right, where it's undistracted, it's away from people, it's away from social media, it's away from our devices, and just being with ourselves. A. B. Bringing that awareness, whatever emotions is coming up in that moment, to hold space for yourself. In other words, just to recognize that you're feeling this way, to accept it, and to explore, what is this feeling? Why am I feeling anxious? Why am I feeling unsettled? Why am I feeling uneased? Or I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety, whatever it may be, whatever emotions come up, or maybe nothing comes up. Maybe it's boredom. Oh, I feel bored, or resistance. I don't want to do this. It's like, wow, I don't want to do this. That's a resistance as well. And it's good to explore that, to get really clear about what that is and address it, and decide from there. It's like, okay, is this something that I want to continue into my software, into my psyche, or do I want to change the narrative around this and recognize that okay, I understand why I'm feeling a little anxious. And maybe it's, for an example, like for myself, was like, oh, I don't want to lose momentum, but there's nothing to lose, right? It's just going back again. It's like, no, it's good to have space for everybody, not just for the flow of whatever's going on in my life, but for the people I'm involved with as well, for the projects, for the things that are happening. The calmness is necessary in order to, well, to reflect, right? And so anyway, and then from there, then you, from the awareness, then you go into the reflective action, the reflective state, where you start to reflect on again, whether it's the day, the week, or the month. So we'll just do the month for this example. And nowadays I do it minimum once a month, but that's really rare. It's, I would say, at least every other week or so, sometimes every week. I like to reflect. I like to reflect because it helps me stay aware of where I'm going. It helps me stay aware to the things I may have missed, right? And take on those opportunities. It's how I'm able to learn so quickly and evolve so quickly. So for me, it's very important to do it as often as I can. And sometimes, it's less than more times than I would want to, but at minimum, a bare minimum, it's once a month. So when I reflect, now we dive deeper into the reflective state. That's when I like to really set the scene, if you will. And I'm not much of a journal guy. I did it for many years. It does work. Obviously, I know that it does because I did it, and I can speak on the effectiveness of it. But nowadays, I prefer to sit with myself in nature and allow that inner dialogue, almost like have a conversation with myself, right? And it feels very much like that, actually. And to allow whatever comes up and be my higher self to myself. And also what that means is like to feel what I'm feeling, to recognize what I'm feeling, but then to detach myself from it and to look at it from almost like a binary perspective, someone that's just neutral, and detach myself from all the emotions that I may feel, that I've already felt and I acknowledged, right? So then I can see something else, something different. And so for me, that's something that it really helps me. So from here, or from there, by being in nature, I can really start to harmonize myself with nature, with a place that's already in harmony. So for me, it's easier to do it when I'm in a place in harmony. If I'm somewhere where there's like TV or noise or whatever going on, which it's never the case, but I'm just giving an example, right? Like I have to be somewhere where I can be in my own energy. And for myself, it helps me a lot if I'm in nature, because I'm working with that energy. And once I detach my emotions, once I acknowledge and everything, then I look at it and I'm able to see a different perspective of it, right? And recognize like, okay, like this, I see why I'm feeling, my conscious self feels this way, right, around this topic. And I understand where it's coming from. I understand that my ego has learned this behavior to survive, right? And I understand that it came from this moment in my life, or this experience or chapter in my life. And now it no longer serves me, but it's showing up because it's the hardware that it has. So within that, I say, okay, for example, I'm going to give an example here. A very, very common one that I've even experienced myself. It's relationships. Yeah, it's a fun one. So with relationships, it's common for things to surface, right? Especially if we were in previous relationships where we got hurt, so to say. We didn't experience a very good or positive experience that was painful or was hurtful and emotionally, where there was a betrayal of trust, where there was a betrayal of integrity, right? And things of this nature. If we don't heal that fully, it will come up. And even if we have healed it, it will still show up, but it just won't not show up as strong as if we didn't heal it. Okay? So this is an example of a pattern. And what I mean by this is because it's showing up, right? It's like, oh, okay, like your mind thinks like love, or the last time I was in love, or the last time someone did this, right? Like someone said a particular thing that triggered you, right? Then it brings you back to that memory, to that person, and you associate with it from that memory. And the reality is that there's two different people, right? And it's not fair to automatically assume that they're going to be the same. But perhaps you are attracting that, and perhaps there's an opportunity to break that, and or there's also perhaps an opportunity for you to realize that maybe that's not the situation, and you can show up differently, right? By talking to that person after you get good with yourself and seeing if maybe that's something that you guys can talk about. But you see, the breaking of the cycle is to recognize like, oh, okay, I'm feeling this way. I want to close off. I want to shut down. I want to, oh, nope, next, right? Like, nope, that's not going to work out. Instead of saying, oof, okay, this feels really uncomfortable. It feels really intense. It's reminding me of an experience that I had in the past that was not good, that hurt me a lot, and it took me a lot to come out of, right? All these things that are going to be surfacing, honor all of it. Hold space for yourself, okay? Honor all of it and realize that this is a different person. That's a fact. That's just a fact. So you are a different person as well. So yes, learn from that experience and teach your subconscious mind, or rather your conscious mind, I should say, that, hey, yes, we will address this with caution, but we're also going to move forward with it. We're going to explore it. We're going to talk. We're going to stay calm, right? We're going to really ask the questions that I didn't ask before, right? All the reflection that if you really reflect, right? If we really reflect, we can see like, oh, okay, I see where I should have asked that. I should have asked that question. And don't come from a place of being defensive, unless, of course, it depends on the situation. If there's obvious as days, right? If it's something very extreme or strong, then that's different. I think communication is always important no matter what. But even within that, I wouldn't just cut off things like, no, I would say, okay, I'm going to cut off this with this person. However, I don't want to just do it how I did it before. Again, it's like breaking out of the cycle. Even if it's slight differences that you do, slight changes, it breaks the cycle and it allows opportunity for that to be transmuted. It allows for opportunities for something new to be experienced within that experience. And if you are in a place of being centered and grounded, I promise you that even if something or someone is not in alignment for you, you will be able to use your discernment and you'll be able to navigate that in a very peaceful way, in a very honorable way that honors you and honors that person, even if they're the ones who are showing up poorly from the beginning. And that will make a difference. That will break an energetic chain in your realm. I promise you that. And so this brings me to another scenario where you recognize, right, that maybe a trigger that came up in this example of being in a relationship, or you're exploring a relationship, let's say, and you feel everything you need to feel. Again, you go through all the motions and everything of the intensity, but you take time. You don't react. You take time. You recognize, oh wow, I'm triggered right now. Okay, emotions are flooding. Okay, take a deep breath. Let me make some space before I say anything. Maybe you can express that. Hey, you know what? I'm feeling a little bit triggered. Can I please get back to you? I really want to connect with myself. Take some time to reflect, to really sit with everything before coming up to you. And I want to come up to you from a level-headed space, a grounded space, and not in the space that I'm in right now. And if that person doesn't respect that, I would continue to emphasize it. I would really appreciate it. I really don't want to do this right now. I'm asking if you could please honor that. If you could please respect. I promise you, we will talk. I need a minute. And a minute doesn't mean like an actual minute. Take this as much time as you need. But that's just like an expression, right? It's to break that in that moment. It's like, I need a breather. And even if you need to go for a walk and breathe and just clear your head, and then be able to come back and say, hey, these are the things that I've identified, whatever it is, however much time you need, but give yourself that break, right? It goes back to that. What I talked about is like the constant stimulation and then the break. It goes back to that, how that applies to so many things in our life, so that we can see what's going on. We can reflect on what's going on. This other scenario is that by you dealing with that, feeling everything you felt, all the intensity, you come to realize that this is a different person, that this is something that you want to let go of, okay, that it's scary, and maybe it feels really scary and it feels unsure, but you're gonna, because you love this person, right, and they haven't done anything else, you're gonna give them the opportunity, right, to talk about this and for you to express yourself. And also you're going to give yourself the opportunity to let go of this, right, to heal from this and realize that was then. It doesn't have to be now. Okay, so that's another example of breaking that loop, right, of always reacting the same way. That it's a cycle, I should say, the cycle. And upon doing that, like I've been here, so I will use real life experiences here or examples where I've done that. And I felt so much emotions. Whew, it was intense, right? And just like between crying and like feeling like wanting to close off, on top of feeling like wanting to just end everything, feeling of like, nope, I've been here before, I'm not going to do this again, I said I wasn't going to do this again, all these fight or flight emotions coming through, but also having the awareness, I'm like, no, like feel what you need to feel, but I'm not going to project. We're going to sit here, me, myself, and I, right, and we're going to sit here and we're going to have this dialogue, we're going to have this conversation, we're going to hold space. And after doing that, and then meditating, after feeling everything and grounding, connecting with my heart, the clarity comes. And it's like, you know what? I understand why I feel this so intensely. I get it. And it's okay. It really is. And it's also okay that it doesn't have to continue to happen. That this is a new person, and maybe this is something that I needed to feel, so I could evolve from it, so I could let go of it. I showed up with that person very differently, very loving, very, very vulnerable, right? Which is very important when we do this, which takes courage, yeah, and with integrity. And it was amazing. And when I mean amazing, it was that person was able to be very loving, very understanding, we were able to have a really healthy conversation, and it felt amazing. And it was a complete different experience. I had never experienced that before, but I allowed the opportunity to experience it. And so that is very, very important. And that's what I'm getting at. And that's another example of how we can break these cycles. And by breaking this example of a cycle, it opened my heart in a different way. I felt it. I felt it like, wow, afterwards being like, I knew that this was possible. I knew that this was something I called upon this, and it's here. But it took me to also be able to be available and open for this experience to happen. Because if I would have closed off, it wouldn't have happened. So cycles are really opportunities to look at our belief systems, to look at our wounds, to look at our defense mechanism, right? And to just have a closer look with our ego, which is here to protect us, and to take accountability, and also I would say to take a look at, right, what is in the hardware. Take a look at what's in the hardware of stories, and what belongs, what is in alignment, and what is outdated. And letting go and bringing in a new software is challenging. It can be challenging because the ego just wants to protect us, and it requires for us to be brave, really brave in those moments. But when we do that, we liberate ourselves from those cycles, and we allow space to evolve. We learn, we ascend from those experiences. They no longer will come into our lives, those vibrations. We let go of those. We transmuted those things, those frequencies, and we liberate ourselves, truly. And I'm telling you from experience that I've done this so many times, it gets better and better each time. Because sometimes, I mean, most recently, I've had some pretty intense things come up. Like, wow, I have not felt this in ever, and or in so many years. But because I've been doing this, right, this same process that I've shared with you, it became easier to recognize, to understand what was really happening, and to allow and to honor, to feel whatever I needed to feel. And it's humbling. It's really beautiful to experience that vulnerability with oneself. And to me, that is how we're able to give ourselves that unconditional love, which builds up in confidence, which builds up in showing up differently within ourselves, and of course out reflecting into the world. And so it's worth it. It's what I'm trying to say, which is why I'm making this video. I'm making this video because it's very much alive in my realm, and I believe that it will always be alive in my realm. And I'm okay with that, because I want to grow. I want to experience life fully, not the same things, especially the same things that are weighing heavy in my heart, that I've already experienced that pain. Why experience it again and over again? It doesn't serve its purpose anymore. And I understand and take full responsibility that only I can give myself that freedom. And so that's my encouragement to you. Whatever drove you to watch this video, I highly encourage and invite you to sit with this and reflect. What are some of the things that you want to let go of? What are some of the cycles that you've been on, or that you are on, that you don't want to look at, that are scary, that are uncomfortable? But you can recognize that they're not serving you. And don't make it about people. Look it upon yourself. It's not everybody, it's not the world against you. It's really not. We have choice. We have free will. We really do. Now, there's been things that have happened in the past where it's easy to be like, yeah, well, I was a good person and this person did me wrong. Okay. What did you learn from that? Without you becoming a victim. What did you learn? Because at some point, there's an opportunity there for you to learn from that experience, right? And to take a responsibility that you chose to engage with that person. That's just as an example from like the dating perspective. And maybe you were naive as an example. Okay. Well, what part of it did you miss out? Where did you not see something? Was it where you met this person? What was your intention? How were you feeling? What did you not see? Were you so deep or love bombarded that you lost yourself because you allowed yourself to lose yourself? Or did you feel something and ignore your intuition on a subtle thing that was there? Again, reflection is important. And to not make it about other people, but to say, no, like, okay, I take responsibility. I didn't honor myself. I didn't listen, or showed up poorly, or I had things within myself. We cannot control other people, folks. And we shouldn't want to be honest. But we can work on ourselves. We can take responsibility for our actions, for our thoughts, and for our emotions. That's fair. And that's tangible. That's real. So my encouragement is that you take this and you do it for yourself. And so that therefore you can also do it for others. So that you also don't, within your whatever cycle you're in, especially if it's a cycle that's heavy, a cycle that it's projecting, any sort of negative or lower vibrational energies out into the world, you owe it to yourself to release yourself from that end so that you don't continue to push that energy out into the world. We already have so much. We have so much to deal with as humanity, as humans. Wars and government and all sorts of corruption and control and abuse of power. So don't be a part of that. You have the power to change that within yourself, for yourself and for humanity. And yes, it does make a difference. Even if you think you don't, it does. We get to raise our vibration, and we get to benefit from that, and so does the world, and so does the future generation. But at any time we think, oh, but what am I going to do? There's so much negativity in the world. Well, that's being negative, first of all. And second of all, the ripple effect is very real. You can have a clear lake, you just drop one tiny little rock, and you just watch the ripple effects travel throughout the lake. You never know. You never know. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that this has been helpful. I hope you learned something new. And most importantly, I hope that you take this and you give it a chance. Give it a chance to see how it feels and what it does for you. Give it 60 days, if you can, 90 days of really applying this into your life. And then upon the last of the 60 or 90 days, reflect on that one last time and see, oh, okay, well, maybe this actually has helped me after all. And it's a tool you can take with you for the rest of your life. And it will serve you for the rest of your life, I promise you. Because like I said before, we all have cycles. And there's nothing wrong with that. We just want to be really clear about our cycles. Thank you so much again for tuning in. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be able to share this with you. Please like, subscribe, and share to anybody who you think could benefit from this. I am trying to get my content more out there. I do also have other things on TikTok that are, it's a little bit different, the shorter messages. I like to go deeper here. And I have a podcast as well as Instagram. But I would say the main ones are here, TikTok, and yeah, my podcasts are the main sources of information that I share out here with you all. Also, please feel free to check out some of the services that I offer if you're interested in wanting to do one-on-one guidance or like a coach type of style. I'm here. I do have openings for that now, and I do different types of work as well, energetic work such as Reiki, magnified healing, and other modalities around energy work specifically that I offer. So all of this you can find in the link that will be in the description of the video, or you can go to my homepage to my channel and check it out there. Thank you so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it, and let's make this world a brighter place, one day and one breath at a time. Thank you so much. Until next time.